So, Cut and Run, 1985. This is a movie from my youth. I don't know if you were like me in the VHS years of the 80s and the early 90s. Movies like this, they just get inside your head. I don't even really know what the cut and run, what that refers to. It seems like it's some kind of drug slang about maybe, ripping off your drug suppliers or doing whatever, getting into some dirty dealings. But um, I accept it because I was such a young kid when I saw this movie. It's just like cut and run. He's just cutting and running. That was what I expected my life to become. It was a life of cutting and running. But, well, it's just an action movie. It's just a jungle action movie directed by Ruggero Deodato, the director of Cannibal, Holocaust, the acclaimed Italian director who, made a couple of great films, but I mean, obviously threw his career away with all of that stuff in Cannibal, Holocaust, the real life animal murder. This is a few years after that. And it's a weird movie because it's like an Italian action movie. It has really rockin' music by Claudio Simonetti. It's kind of the continuation of Ruggero Deodato's jungle films. The first jungle film he made, which was really one of the first cannibal movies he made, which was Jungle Holocaust, Last Cannibal World. Then he made Cannibal Holocaust, which again, as I said, caused him to really, his career take a nosedive. And this feels like the third film, a kind of continuation. Though it's not a cannibal movie, it's just a jungle action movie. And there were a lot of other Italian filmmakers who maybe made better jungle action movies, better action filmmakers than like Antonio Margheriti or people like that of that caliber. But there's something special about Ruggero Deodato's jungle action movies. And this movie is really special because it's like an Italian action movie, but then it's got all of these like really credible American actors in the film. I mean, you've got all of this stuff. And apparently Wes Craven was involved in the writing of this film, and he was going to direct it, and then he somehow dropped out, and then it became like an Italian jungle action movie. Though it does feel kind of like a cannibal movie. I mean, basically what it is, it's again, it's continuing in the tradition of Cannibal Holocaust. It's these this man and this woman, Leonard Mann and the acclaimed American actress Lisa Blount, Lisa Blount is Fran Hudson, a reporter for CVN, the kind of CNN clone in this film, and she's all into the cutthroat journalistic world of showing up before, right after her beat is the Miami drug dealers. And so she follows the bloody path of drug dealing all the way to the source in South America, where this mysterious guy who used to be part of the Jim Jones Death Squad, this guy played by Richard Lynch, is running around doing drugs, killing other drug dealers. And she also finds that this Richard Lynch character may somehow be involved with the missing son of the head of her television station, the CVN. This guy, this kind of Ted Turner-esque clone. Well, it's an Italian horror movie, so it's not like, it's Richard Bright. Richard Bright from The Godfather. And his assistant or wife or whatever, I don't know, we never really, Karen Black. So Karen Black and Richard and Richie Bright say to Fran Hudson, to Lisa Blount, go to South America and find my son. And they start off on this jungle adventure where they're chasing Willie Aames, who plays the Richard Bright's son, this sweaty, angry, afraid Willie Aames, who is great, and John Steiner, a famous Italian actor. Again, this is a weird mix of like Eric LaSalle, you know, and then Richard Bright, and then like John Steiner. So it's like a weird mix of Italian and American actors. It's a weird potpourri of like these credible American actors who obviously are doing just little cameos. They're doing little scenes in a studio somewhere, you know, while the lead cast is in South America, just probably fighting for their life trying to shoot the film. But so it's basically Lisa Blount and Leonard Mann traipsing through the running after Willie Aames in the jungle for no really good goddamn reason. They're somehow able to send an uplink, the transmit Leonard Mann's supposed to be a cameraman, and he's transmitting it back to the studio where Karen Black is like, oh, they found him. They found Willie Aames. They found him. Yeah, Richard. You know, at the very end, Richard Bright is reunited, and it's crazy. You know, it's got crazy Richard Lynch. It's got crazy Willie Aames. And it's got Michael Berryman as like and Michael Berryman in the film is just this like guy running around. He's like the king of the jungle natives. And he's just macheting people. He's got a machete, and he just machetes people. He machetes people all over the place, and it's never really spelled out in the film what his specific attachment to the Richard Lynch character is. He seems to be Richard Lynch's henchman, but then it's never really explained fully. It's never really quite spelled out what his relationship to the film is, other than that he's, you know, just a crazy guy, you know, with the machete. The new Blu-ray, the Blu-ray from, what is it, Code Red, is really good. I mean, because the film came out on VHS, and then in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was that Anchor Bay DVD, which they'd cut together this kind of longer version of the film with some of the nastier deleted scenes, and but it had them subtitled in Italian, and this one does. The Code Red Blu-ray does have still the scenes subtitled in Italian, but I think it's shorter, because I think what they did with the Anchor Bay, I think a lot of people criticize them, is that there were other scenes. There were scenes with like Karen Black where she was dubbed, where she was like dubbed in Italian, and apparently those scenes, you know, were in English. So I think this is a better cut. It's not the exact cut as the Anchor Bay longer version. This is like a newer, longer version with more English language stuff, I think. It looks good. There are like standard definition inserts, and there's the famous scene, the famous wishbone scene with John Steiner, which is incredibly insane, which looks like it's taken from a VHS tape. And so it's really crappy. But the good thing about the Code Red release is you can watch the R-rated version. So you can watch the kind of the full, you know, regular cut. Because the uncut version is kind of weird, because like in the opening scene with Fran Hudson, where she's coming into this kind of aftermath of a drug deal gone bad, it's like the R-rated version, some of the girls have like clothes on, and in the unrated version, like, they just stripped them bare, you know, and it seems like it seems like a lot of the uncut version is like full frontal nudity. They stripped them bare, but it's like kind of nonsensical in the way that they've cut it together. I mean, the way it was, you know, the way the full version is like magically the clothes teleport away. So the R-rated version is still pretty strong. I mean, the only thing that's really wild and missing in the R-rated version is I think just that wishbone scene. So you might want to try out the R-rated version first, but the uncut still is I think a better uncut version than the Anchor Bay. And of course, obviously it's in widescreen. In widescreen high def now, you know. So a new high def transfer. A lot of good extras. I think some of them were from the original Anchor Bay DVD. Some new stuff. Damon Packard interviewed John Steiner, and Leonard Mann was interviewed. You know, that was one of the problems I always felt with the film, is I felt Lisa Blount should be the lead character, but she always seemed in the film to take kind of like a back seat to Leonard Mann, and he's not as good at, and he's a good actor, but it's like, and he's like really sweaty during the, he's got his camera, and he's always agitated and sweaty. There's a lot of sweat and agitation, and you feel that people are doing a lot of extracurricular chemical activity during this film. That's what you just get the vague idea, Richard Lynch and Willie Aames and all these other dudes. You feel like there's a lot of homework into the drug trade going on behind the scenes. And Willie Aames kind of confirms it, and he says, like, man, there was a lot of coke going around the set. The best extra on the film, on the Code Red Blu-ray, is this incredible, it's almost like an hour-long interview with Willie Aames. And this guy, I love to see him at a convention or something, because the Hollywood stories that Willie Aames tells are incredible. He talks about his life. He talks about his career. He dishes the dirt on Ruggero Deodato, that Italian actress in the film was his girlfriend, and he was beating the shit out of her, and he was like, well, hey, you need help, and he's like, well, because he showed up at her hotel room, one night. He's like, hey, do you need help? And Ruggero was there, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Get away. Deodato was just swatting him away. All the weird shit of shooting on location in South America, the craziness. He goes through it. It's a really great interview. So, great movie. I mean, just if you like jungle action films, this is one of the best. I mean, I would agree with Willie Aames that Deodato feels like an old school director. He's not against putting people in physical discomfort to get a shot. And these films, Last Cannibal World and Cannibal Holocaust and Cut and Run, they bristle with authenticity. And I'm often kind of bored by some of the Margheriti, some of the other people's jungle films. I haven't seen Tiger Joe in a long time, but like some of the David Warbeck, some of the jungle commando warrior films, some of them to me can get a little bit generic, but this film is kind of, it just throws everything in the mix. It throws in natives, it throws in cutting and running and jungles and machetes and people's heads being cut off and people being ripped in half, and Jim Jones, machetes. It's like this. You could see it as kind of like following in Cannibal Holocaust as like an expose on the cutthroat nature of television and news, modern news, how it's like more about the sizzle and the sensationalism and man bites dog, but it's not real. That theme is not really explored as well. Even in the Cannibal Holocaust, that theme was rather ham-fisted. There was just a lot of shock. Somehow parading under this veil of being socially conscious commentary. But this film is even less. This film is more of just a full out, balls out, just let's show some action, let's get it on the screen, let's go wild. So Cut and Run does not have any kind of pretense of being socially conscious commentary. It is just a full on, just wham, 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 wham. And I mean, the manipulating, conniving news reporters are like supposed to be the heroes of the film. They're not really, it's kind of this weird A and B story of Willie Aames running through the woods, trying to escape everything, other guys cutting and running, the Fran Hudson Letterman running around sweating in the woods and jungle. So I mean, it's just this weird cocktail of weirdness, of jungle craziness, of weirdness, and I love it.